People, it's been a minute. You guys haven't heard or seen me in a while. And so we have a lot to talk about. So let's get into it. You haven't heard or seen from me in a while. Ultimately, it really comes down to laziness and procrastination. Like, I put out a podcast episode sometime last year, like a few months ago, and it was just me saying, like, I think I was saying encouraging words and just really, I had nothing planned, but God was like, you need to get back in the game. And I was, oh, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see my janky nails, but try to ignore. But anyways, so I was trying to be obedient. I just recorded something right quick, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna be consistent. Definitely was not, but now I'm back again. I'm trying. If you're watching on YouTube, I don't have my mic set up. I'm just in my living room. I don't, like, you guys should see if you could see it, it's so janky, how I'm setting up my phone. I can't find my tripod. We just moved, my husband and I have a husband. Last time I did a podcast episode, I didn't have a husband. It's so much to talk about, you guys. My life is just completely different. But, so I can't find my tripod, but I had to make it work. So it's just set up on like coasters, a pill bottle. It just looks a mess. But I had to do what I had to do to make sure that I record this, I get this video out. I put on a little bit of makeup, and I'm just making do with what I have. I was once again gonna push back this episode and be like, oh, I'm just gonna record tomorrow. Knowing that when tomorrow comes, I'm not going to feel like it. It's going to be another reason why I don't feel like doing it. And then my friend had posted, I was scrolling on Facebook, and she had posted that God said, work with what you have the tools. And I was like, all right, God, you talking to me. Okay, I'm going to do it. I'm just going to work with what I have and do this episode. This is really like a big catch-up episode. We're going to be talking about just my whole life in general, from fitness to my marriage, and a bunch of other things. So let's start with my fitness and health. So my whole platform, right? Summer Body Fitness. I did change my name to I Am Summer, but Summer Body Fitness, Fearfully Fit, those things, Fearfully Fit podcast, those things came from my weight loss journey, my fitness and health journey. During the pandemic, it had me like, it did a number on me. I'm not gonna hold you as far as my weight. So spiritually, I grew exponentially during this pandemic, and mentally as well, and even strength wise, I broke so many so many weight training PRs during the pandemic. I was always consistent with my weight training during the pandemic. I never stopped. Well, I did have to stop going to the gym because gyms were closed at a certain point, but I never stopped working out at home. And then once the gyms opened back up, I was up in there faithfully, and I have never been as strong as I was during the pandemic. But I ate like there was just no tomorrow. Everything that I knew and that I've learned about maintaining weight loss, as far as nutrition, I completely threw it out the window. So when they say that you cannot outwork a poor diet, they're not saying it for play. You cannot outwork a poor diet ever. And I'm definitely a witness to it. I have not gained all my weight back, but I've gained a lot back. And I definitely feel it. And for reasons that I'll let you guys know later on in the podcast, so stay tuned, I haven't been able to work out as much as I used to. Okay? So let me start from the beginning of the pandemic. I hurt my neck. Let me show you where I went downhill as far as my nutrition. I hurt my neck. I pulled a muscle in my neck, and I couldn't work out for 2 weeks. Like, literally just prostrate on the couch. I could not move for 2 weeks, and I was just eating any and everything. Like, I was just like, I'm sick, I need to heal. So this is my time to just let me just go crazy with the food. And I probably ate fast food every single day during that 2 week period. And just ever since then, even after I healed and I was back working out, I just did not get back on track with my nutrition. And so it's really nobody's fault but mine. Like, a lot of fitness people that I follow, a lot of them fell off. A lot of them gained a lot of their weight back. Several of them gained all their weight back, plus more. A couple of them was just like, this page is not even for weight loss. It's not funny, but it's funny because they was just like, yo, we so far out now from where we started with our weight loss. Like, this page is not even about weight loss anymore. So, but the thing is, with all of them, none of them stopped posting. I think maybe two of them I have seen that they stopped posting, but the rest of them that gained a lot or all of their weight back, they never stopped posting, and they've still been an inspiration. I've still have been in tuned and a faithful follower. So I'm really not sure. Well, I'm lying. I was going to say that I'm not sure what stopped me from posting. But I do know it started with, a little bit of embarrassment, because I'm like, okay, I lost all this weight, then I gained a big chunk back. So, like, am I even credible anymore? Are people going to, even though I know my techniques work, I know that when I put my mind to it, whenever that moment comes, I'm going to lose the weight again. But should I just wait until I lose the weight again for people, for me to be any type of inspiration? Which, oh, that's my cat, y'all. A little baby. Look, you want to be in the camera so bad. It's not about you. So it was a lie, that I was telling myself that people wouldn't be inspired, because the fitness people that I followed that had gained the majority or all of their weight back, I was still very much inspired by them, but that they never stopped. So I was like, Summer, you could have kept going. But first it turned into embarrassment, right? That I felt like people would be like, dang, she gained a lot of weight back, I'm not about to be following her. But then it turned into, once I started to get more confident with my weight gain, and I was actually very proud of myself with all of the PRs I was doing in the gym, then it turned into laziness. Like, I didn't want to set up my camera. I didn't want to edit. I didn't want to, I didn't want to care about posting. I didn't want to write captions. I just didn't feel like it. I didn't feel like building a community. I really was just not in the mood. And then laziness turned into complacency. And I started to believe that me not posting on social media, me not, building my community, me not doing the podcast, like, it was okay, because I really was thriving in other areas of my life. And so I was just like, I don't really think I care anymore. I'm happy doing what I'm doing, which was just other stuff. So it was a combination of those three things. And then, like I said, spiritually, I really grew during the pandemic. And finally, it was just getting to a point that God was just like, yo, how dare you not use what I've given you? Like, one thing I'll say is that being all of who God has made you to be, it can get tiring. It gets exhausting, right? Sometimes it feels overwhelming, the responsibility that comes with, carrying out a vision. The responsibility of it starts to weigh on you. And then when you kind of draw back from that responsibility, it feels good. I'm not gonna hold you. It feels refreshing sometimes to just do what you want to do and not do what you feel like you're supposed to do, even if it's the thing that God put in you to do. And even though I can honestly say I love doing this podcast, especially when it's with another person, I love the conversation of it. I really, really do. especially when I'm done and I've posted it, I feel so accomplished. I love it so much. But at the same time, it was getting weary of just continuously doing it and upkeeping it. And especially if you don't necessarily see the fruits of your labor, even though I knew that my episodes or me posting on social media was inspiring people, if it's not kind of like in your face where people are telling you, I'm so inspired, I heard your podcast, I love it, or I see you on social media, I'm loving it. If you're not getting that, then it's like, it feels like it's wasted, like your effort was wasted, or it doesn't matter that much. When in reality, you don't know who you are influencing. You don't know, anytime you have a platform, whether it's 2 people, 2,000, or 20, you are influencing others. You have the capacity to change someone's life. You have the capacity to change someone's day. You have the capacity to give them a different mindset, a different perspective, and something that they may be going through. And so it's important. And I was just like, you know what, God, for 2022, my main focus, I have other big focuses that I'm going to speak about later, but just a personal main focus will be that I will be consistent with this podcast. I have to be. And I said, that's why, I told y'all my setup was so janky. But I'm still going to do this anyway. I don't have my mic set up. I'm still going to do it anyway. I'm like, they'll still hear the audio. It's not going to be crisp and clear, but you'll hear it and it's still going to do its job. And I was like, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do it. We have, I said earlier that we moved and we have an office now, but the office is not set up. And I have a vision to set up a nice background. It's going to look real cute for my podcast, but none of that is set up. And I was just like, I'm not going to allow that to be an excuse. I have the tools, which are my phone, a pen and pad to write down my notes of what I'm going to talk about. And that's all I need. The platforms are there for me to post. So there's really no excuse. So yeah, I'm back in it. And that is one of my main focuses, is to be my main focuses. Is that a word? One of my main focus is to be consistent with this podcast. All right. So I talked about how I'm married now. I'm married, you guys. I got married in September, and it was really sometimes I think about it, I'm like, it was such a dream. It was literally everything that I wanted. I didn't do anything to kind of live up to anybody's standards, or I've been to a ton of beautiful weddings, especially in the past 2 years ago. I've been to a lot of beautiful weddings, but I didn't allow any of the stuff that I've seen to kind of stunt my vision, or make me do something just to please other people, or kind of show off a little bit. Everything that happened at my wedding, everything looked the way that it looked because that was my desire. And I'm just so happy, you guys. It was literally a dream come true. I'm going to do a YouTube video to talk about, not necessarily, I'll probably call it do's and don'ts, but there really is no do's and don'ts to weddings. It's really just ultimately what you want to do. But I'm just going to call it do's and don'ts, because all the wedding stuff that I looked at, YouTube videos I looked at before I got married, most of them were do's and don'ts. But I think I have a lot of great tips for you guys that I'm not going to talk about in this podcast episode, but keep a lookout. I'm going to do a podcast and a YouTube video for do's and don'ts for getting married. And another big thing, your girl is pregnant. That's just your baby mama. That's just your baby mama. Baby mama. So I got pregnant super quick. I'm right now, as I record this, I'm 17 weeks. So I got pregnant about a few weeks after my honeymoon. So it's very quick. So obviously I'm aware that when you don't use protection, it is the possibility of getting pregnant. But I was like, I just didn't think it would happen so fast. I just honestly wasn't, even without using protection. And so a lot of people advise you, well, they at least advised me to not get pregnant like my first year. A lot of older people, not even really older, just people who are already married had kind of said like, the first year is like the hardest. Just hold off, enjoy your husband or, enjoy your wife. But there was a number of reasons why I wanted to not have protection. And it's because, one, my father was very sick earlier in 2001. And we, it was a big chance of losing him. And so when he came through that, my family, we're such in general, like a close family. They're such a big part of my life. I couldn't fathom my father not being part of my kid's life. I really couldn't. I know it might seem like, so Summer, you really got pregnant because of that. Like, that's such a huge decision. Yes, but it was a big decision. It was an important decision, and it's something I felt comfortable with. I was like, I don't want to stunt anything to keep myself, not stunt anything. I don't want to be taking anything that would keep me from getting pregnant, knowing that my father was just very, very sick. And I just don't want to risk it. I don't want to risk holding off 2-3 years and something else happens. I was unsettled about that. And so that was one reason. Another reason is because of my age. Now, I'm really not old. I'm 29 years old. I know, fully aware that I'm not old. But, I didn't want to ignore that when a woman hits 35, it is considered a geriatric birth. And so if I am in a position to get married, if I am in a position to have a child, I didn't want to, once again, hold off, knowing that I'm inching closer to that geriatric age. Now, say if I wasn't married right now, if I wasn't married and I wasn't in a position that I believed that it was God's will for me to have a child, then I wouldn't be too pressed about my age, right? If he promised me a family, he knows that's the desires of my heart, but say I'm hitting 30, but I'm still not married, I wouldn't be too pressed about it, because then that's kind of different. You know what I mean? God's promise is still God's promise. And I'm just not in a position to have a child. But because God didn't tell me nothing like that, I'm married. Financially we're doing pretty okay. We were able to move into a bigger home, a bigger apartment, a bigger space. We have definitely an amazing village to help us raise this child and just be there as a support system. So I was like, there's really no reason for me to ignore science. If I don't have to. Now, like I said, if you're listening and you're in your 30s and you're like, well, dag, I'm not even married. Like, if you pressed about it at 29, what am I going to do? Like I said, if I was not in a position to have a child where I thought it was God's will, meaning out of marriage, then I wouldn't be too pressed about it, because God's promise remains his promise. And, I would be okay with waiting, if I just wasn't in a position where it was God's will. But because he didn't tell me nothing like that, he didn't give me any type of peace or reassurance, like, if you hold out medically, everything is going to be okay. I was just like, I don't want to take the chance of waiting until I'm in my waiting until I hit in my 30s, and then there's issues, and now I'm trying to do other stuff at that age. I just didn't want to risk it. So I'm like, I just rather know now. God forbid if there's something wrong, I just want to know as soon as possible. So yeah. And then the third reason I decided to not use protection is because my husband and I were just ready. Like, we really didn't mind having a kid right now. I was someone who, I never really cared to have kids like that. I really didn't. I've always been fully aware of how serious having a child was. You know, that was not something where my self-esteem issues, where I desired to look for that within the love of a child. I I was always fully aware of the seriousness of having a child. And so I was never pressed about it. For a while, I thought I wouldn't have kids. And so then when I started to get in my mind, like when I hit my later 20s and I started to really think about like, wow, building a family, having a kid, like it was just, I knew that the fact that I was thinking about it so intently, God was preparing me mentally and emotionally to bring a child into this world. And my husband and I, he's older than me, so he's 34. So he's just like, he was ready. And so that was the third reason. And so yes, we only enjoyed about a month of marriage before finding out that we were pregnant. But it's okay. Like we're still super excited. It really does still kind of feel like honeymoon stage with my husband and I. We went into the marriage in a very, very, very healthy space, and it's kind of maintained that. So yeah, we're excited. The postpartum weight loss, y'all, it's gonna be, I'm excited. I'm actually excited for it. There's a lot of, I want to go back to weight loss for a quick second. There's a couple of people I follow. Well, I'm gonna say one in particular. There's someone that I follow on social media, and she has been losing weight, right? She works with a trainer, and so her weight loss has been successful, but she hates her regimen, and so she hates what she has to eat when she has to eat it, and she seems miserable. Right? She seems absolutely miserable. And the thing is, you really don't have to be so miserable in this weight loss journey. You really don't. When I lost 100 pounds, all I started by doing was sharing my food. Literally. I shared my food with people. He back again for another in camera. I'm talking about my cat, y'all. Y'all can't see him if you're not on YouTube, but he keep popping up in the camera. But so when I first started off weight loss, that's all I started with was sharing my food. So I didn't eat anything differently. It's just whatever I ate, I would ask someone did they want some or want a piece or whatever. And then when I lost like 30 pounds just from doing that, then that's when I started to like cut back with my portions. Then I lost another, like, I don't know, maybe it was like 30 pounds. And then that's when I was just so motivated. I was just like strict with my diet and my calories. So it really, and so I enjoyed literally the entire process. Like, granted, there were times you get discouraged and it's just like, man, I don't know if I can do this. But the feeling didn't overwhelm me because I didn't totally change my life to the point where I hated it. Now, there are some people who have to be on a strict regimen in order to show results. Just like mentally, that is the way they work. And if that's you, that's fine. If you have to be on a strict regimen, someone has to be telling you breakfast, lunch, snack, dinner, what you can eat and what you cannot eat, how much you can drink, what you cannot drink. If that's you, in order for you to have results, I understand. But I just need you to know that there is definitely a different way to go about this weight loss journey where you don't have to absolutely hate the process and that you can actually be excited about it. I am genuinely excited to go hard on my weight loss, on my postpartum weight loss. I'm really excited. I'm excited to lift heavy again. I'm excited to be disciplined with my eating. I also, during the pandemic, something that changed for me that aided to my weight gain was I started working from home full time. I'm fully remote. And so that was a big change because I had access to food all day long. And so I'm snacking, typing 2 minutes, snacking, typing another 10 minutes, snacking. And, it was just such in my grasp. And so the techniques that I had taught myself while I was working in the office, they didn't necessarily apply to at home. I needed to shift it, and I never shifted. I never shifted according to my situation, according to my atmosphere. And it was so sudden, and we didn't even know how long it was gonna last. I wasn't even checking for COVID-19. When I tell you, I didn't think nothing of it up until literally when they told us we had to leave the office. I wasn't thinking anything of it. Literally weeks leading up, people in my office, oh, COVID-19, people getting sick, da da da. I was like, okay. Like, I'm like, let me pray for them in Jesus' name, you know. You're random, you standing around and be like, in Jesus' name, just thinking about, you know, Lord, don't let me get sick. But I didn't think anything of it until we was in the office and they was like, you guys got to go home. We're not allowed to be here. And I was like, okay, this is getting kind of serious. Then when we got home and a week passed, 2 weeks passed, and we didn't go back into the office, I'm like, this is real. This is real. But I never shifted my tactics. I never shifted my habits as far as my habits at home, you know, like when I should get up and eat, where I should be working, you know, working from my bed a lot, and just kind of like, and that matters too. All of that mattered, because if I would have been, you know, eating at a desk, you know, it puts you in a mindset to, okay, lunch is at 12, lunch is not at 10, 10:30, 11, 11:15, and 12 o'clock. It's at 12. And so eating from my bed, it was just kind of, you get comfortable. Not working from my bed, you get comfortable. And it was just, I was doing the most, and it caught up to me as far as weight wise. And so my weight loss journey postpartum, yo, it's on and popping, and I'm excited. I'm genuinely excited. I know that I wrote a ebook called The Ultimate Guide to Weight Loss. I'm going to be just reviewing that. I've done it before. That's one of my probably biggest motivations, knowing that I've already done it. The proof is in my life. You know, I already know what to do, how to do it, and I'm going to be doing it, and I'm excited for it. Now, obviously, I don't know what it's going to be like having a newborn. I have no idea. I'm talking all this talk now, and then I don't want y'all to see me in a year, and I'm just like, oh, I couldn't, it was just too hard. But I really believe I can get it done. I know what I have to do, and I'm ready for it. So that is it of this first podcast episode. I'm so happy I did this. I'm so happy that I'm back on track. I don't know if I'll have the energy or just the motivation. Oh, my curls look good. If y'all watching on my YouTube, you see my curls. They look good. They look nice. I think I'm gonna do a YouTube hair thing. I need to be on my YouTube game more. I really do. My edges growing in. When I get braids now, y'all, I make sure I part out a lot of my edges. Because baby hairs are in now. All them baby hairs. And so it don't be looking crazy when I got all them baby hairs laying down. So they do not, I don't have any of my edges braided up. So my edges been coming back. Okay, so I promise you guys, I'm going to be committed. Even if I don't know you like that, even if the only how you know me is through social media, if you're listening to this podcast and I go 1 week without doing an episode, without releasing it, it may not always be video, okay? But I have committed every single week to doing an episode. So even if you don't know me like that, if I go a week without posting an episode, please hold me accountable. Reach out to me via one of the platforms, Facebook or Instagram, YouTube even, comment and be like, yo, where's the episode at? What happened? What are you doing? I thought you was consistent. What is this? 2022, big things popping. Like, what are you doing? And so, yeah, I'm asking for accountability. My friends, shout out to my tribe. They know who they are. And shout out to my friend Clay. He knows who he is. I just said his name. They definitely hold me accountable. And my husband, He holds me accountable. And so I'm ready to go full force and to just leave you guys with something. And I really want to get in the habit of something that I do every single episode, and I think it might be leaving an encouraging word. I would say this year, live more of yourself. And what I mean by that is, early in the podcast, I talked about how it can sometimes be very tiring being all God has called you to be. And so what we tend to do is we'll stick to a portion of ourselves. I'm someone who's very, a part of me is very laid back, very low key, likes to stick to myself. And if I'm not careful, I get really stuck in that. That's not all God has created me to be. He's also created me to be a very personable person, someone who loves to communicate and have conversation, someone who has a vision and a dream. But sometimes I get very complacent in that one part of God, who God has called me to be. But he's like, I need you to live more of yourself. I'm not asking you to be nobody but who I created you to be. And that's why I don't see how people be so into other people's business, because who you are and what you got going on in life is enough. It's too much a lot of times. Like, how you got time to try to be like somebody else? And it's already hard enough being your own being your own self. But so yeah, live more of yourself this year. If you know that God has created you to be someone who's bold, someone who is an entrepreneur, even someone who thrives in their 9 to 5, don't get complacent being just one part of who God has called you to be. Be all of it. Tap into all those little pieces that God has created in order to make who you are. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm going to still be sitting in my, my low key summer. I'm going to be enjoying that. But also this summer that has that vision, that loves that conversation, that wants to build that community, I'm going to live in that too. I'm going to live more of myself this year. So thank you guys for tuning in. Till next time.